let's move on to the next topic. So, on top of the Falcons really knocking it out of the park with their first four selections, and I like the seventh round guy, the lineman they got too. They also, I think, for the first time, did really well with the undrafted free agents. Josh Simon, for example, tight end from Carolina. I like that pick. South Carolina. I like that pickup. But the one that really caught my eye was Kobe Bryant, the corner out of Kansas. Now, there was a picture surfacing Twitter of him in a number 2 Falcons uniform. And I'm going to defend him here. I don't think his intention was to take the number. He's just really excited to be a Falcon. 2, I believe, was his college number. He was just putting it out there. But then, our loyal fan base, the people that, just love Matt Ryan so much are like, yeah, let him take 2. No problem about that. Jeff, what are your thoughts? Should Kobe Bryant or anybody else, because I don't want to pin it on him, be allowed to wear number 2?
No. And I said this he could come in, be the one of the few undrafted rookies that end up getting to the Hall of Fame, right? You just don't know how these guys are going to pan out. And for me, I'm sorry, but there are just certain numbers that you don't let guys wear. I mean, I was pissed off last year when they let Emory Jones walk around wearing Julio's number, right? Like, he was this undrafted guy, free agent comes in, all of a sudden you're going to throw number 11 on him. I'll be damned. And I feel the same way about Matt. Like, there are just certain numbers where guys have to earn that number. And to me, Matt Ryan should also be one of those guys that says yes or no, he can wear my number. Almost like, what's his name, calling Lawrence Taylor, Abdul Carter, right? He wore 22 in high school, wore 11 at Penn State, calls Lawrence Taylor and says, hey, I want to wear 56 for the Giants. Lawrence Taylor said, kindly fuck off. Like, yeah, obviously he didn't say that because he's not a co-kid anymore, but he just said, no, you need to go blaze your own trail. And so for me, which is really weird, by the way, because Abdul Carter, again, never wore 56. So why you would call and ask Lawrence Taylor if you could wear his number is ridiculous to me. But I feel like that's the level of respect that Matt Ryan has earned, given what he gave this franchise. And I know he just retired. I know he hasn't been gone long. And no, I'm not saying he's on Lawrence Taylor's level. Although he is a Hall of Famer, there are different levels to the Hall of Fame, right? Lawrence Taylor is one of the top 2 or 3 best defensive players of all time. But for me, and I agree with you, right? Like, Kobe wasn't trying to insinuate he was going to wear number 2. He just had somebody do the quick little Photoshop creativity thing, and I get that, I understand it. But leave it to some of the retards on this fan base to go, oh yeah, let him wear number 2. No, absolutely not. Right. And for me, there are just certain numbers, 2, 11, Mike Ken's number, there's probably 4 or 5 numbers I feel like you should not be allowed to wear without permission of either that player or that player's family if they're no longer here. And for me, 2 and 11 start up there. I don't care if you want to call me new school, even though I'm 45 years old. There are just, I understand that you don't retire. The Falcons do not retire numbers, right? But there are certain numbers that should be not allowed unless you've earned that number and you've been given permission by that player or that player's family to wear that number. And for me, Matt will always be on that list. I don't give a shit. For a long time there was the whole Matt Ryan versus Michael Vick thing, right? Like, the fan base was split in half, and I always thought that was stupid because they're very different players. They both brought a lot to this franchise, and people forget that Matt Ryan came in and rescued this franchise in the turmoil left by Mike Vick. And I'm not shitting on Mike because I'm a big Mike fan. Mike is one of the top 5 players in this franchise's history. I don't care how long he was here. But Matt took this franchise to a whole other level. Matt Ryan didn't have a losing season in his first, 10 years? They went 500, but he didn't have a losing season in forever, right? And you looked at the number of wins. At one point, he was 30 games over 500 as a starting quarterback in Atlanta. I think the prior 25 quarterbacks in franchise history were +3, right? He did things that the Falcons had never had before, and so he's earned a different level of respect. So let Kobe Bryant wear whatever number he wants to wear, except for number 2. If he's got to buy 22 off of somebody, or he's got to buy a derivative 2, whatever it takes. But yeah, 2's off limits.
Yeah, and I think people really forget where we were as a franchise in '07, coming off the Leftwich Harrington starts. I mean, that
Yeah.
was really dark times. And, Falcons took Ryan third overall. Like, he was passed up by the Dolphins and I believe the Rams in that '08 draft. So, I mean, the fact that we were even able to get him at 3 and the value that he provided us like for 15 years, it was incredible. I mean, look, I would say maybe out of his 15 seasons with us, 13 of them we were solid in the conversation. Will we make playoffs? Will we get over to the hump and go to the Super Bowl in 13 of those seasons, right? We haven't had that one time since he left. Maybe you can point to last year where we became a threat, but no one thought that like the Falcons would really go that far. Ryan, every single year, even in the dark times during 2013-14 where we're kind of rebuilding, like we were always going into that season like, yeah, but we got Roddy, we got Julio, we got Matt. Like we have a puncher's chance here, but the rest of the team unfortunately wasn't built around him. And let's not forget, he is the only player in history to have an MVP. So I mean, look, you and I have different levels of love for Ryan. I think you say he's surefire Hall of Famer. That's your opinion. I think he's more borderline. I don't know if he's like realistically, I don't know if he's going to get in just from a perception standpoint, but does he deserve like he's definitely like in our ring of honor. Like he is, I think, the best player we've had, the most important player we've had in franchise history. And I hope
Sure.
somebody elevates above that. I hope Penix brings a Super Bowl to Atlanta because then he will be the most important player in franchise history. It's that simple. So you get that first Super Bowl win. Do you disagree with that, Jeff? If Penix wins the Super Bowl, does he go above Ryan?
No, yeah,
You
you've
need
got to
more.
break all of Ryan's. You got to do more than that, right? I mean, Nick Foles has a Super Bowl MVP for Christ's sake, right? Like that's to
True.
me the Super Bowl. Like everybody wants to knock on the Super Bowl. It's hard to play better in the Super Bowl than Matt Ryan did, right? I mean, you go back and you look at what that Super Bowl was. And I know everybody loves to blame him because the defense gave up points and somehow he played defense in that game too. But I just to me there's more to it than just winning a Super Bowl. If he wins that Super Bowl, he's a surefire Hall of Famer at that point. There's no doubt in my mind because that game was blown and he's always going to be the one to see him blame it. I understand exactly where you're coming from. I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer at all, and for that reason, right? But I do think he eventually gets in. But just winning a Super Bowl based upon the fact that Nick Foles has one. What's his name up there in New York? Has one with the
Eli.
Ravens.
Oh,
No, not Eli.
Flacco.
Flacco has one, right? Like there are guys who were not nearly as good as Matt Ryan was who have Super Bowls. So for me, that's not the end all be all. And I know there are going to be people that disagree, and that's fine. But does Penix, does he have he's got the tools? Can he stay healthy? And then, what kind of leadership does he have? And that to me is also kind of what set Matt Ryan apart was the leadership aspect of that. This franchise had never had a leader like Matt was. Even with Mike Vick, right? Like, Vick always talked about, I never opened my playbook. Like, and he wasn't saying that boastfully. He was ashamed of how he treated his first opportunity in the NFL, right? Where Matt Ryan didn't have that. Matt Ryan, he was the leader. He was the franchise. He was every adjective you can think of. And so those are big shoes to fill. I don't expect Michael Penix to fill those shoes. I want MP9 to be himself. I want him to forge his own path. I don't want the comparisons to Matt or to Mike or to anybody else. I want him to be his own guy, right? And so you will never hear me say, oh yeah, well, Matt Ryan didn't do it like that, or Michael Vick didn't do it like that. Like I'm going to let Michael Penix be Michael Penix. And I'll let the idiots take care of all that bullshit when it comes to comparing him to others and what he does or doesn't do. And I want the young man to be successful. I want him to stay healthy because to your point, I think if he does all those things, he absolutely will win a Super Bowl. I think you are starting to kind of see this team put together. And if this rookie class is as good as you and I think they are, I think they will do something special here by year 3 or 4 as they grow together and continue to build continuity.
100% agreed. I think it's the first time in a while where I'm really pumped up about this coming season on multiple fronts. Not only our rookie class, but just the way Penix looked in those last 3 games gives us a lot to look forward